We're here with our good buddy, Millennial Mike. Happy to hang out. Dude, it's been like forever.
Well, I always work Friday mornings, and
I
unless
know.
I'm adjusted for like today, I'm going to work a later shift because I'm going to be at the range. So I just can't
Well,
make Friday mornings, unfortunately.
I get it. I understand. Our job's getting in the way. This is my lunch break. So so
Oh
it
boy.
just kind of is what it is. I know that Dion's going to join us in a little bit, but it'd been like forever since we gotten a chance to get all on together. Just
Mhm.
because schedules have been crazy, but what's going on? I saw in social media that you got another one under agreement. Just like no one
Yeah.
likes to show off, Mike.
Well,
So
I got number 14. It's a single family house. It's another nice brick 3-bed 1-bath house. I know those things will appraise for at minimum 70 grand. I've had one appraised for as high as 134,000.
wow.
And I got it under contract for $32,000. Walked through it. I didn't walk through it myself,
Sure.
but I had my guys walk through it, send me video walk through the whole thing. It looks like we could do a little bit of work on the flooring and repaint the mint green walls to something that's a little more renter friendly. But other than that, it looked really nice. It has a nice fenced in backyard, which in a tough city like Gary is very desirable because it's all fenced in.
Yeah.
Has a garage. It'll probably rent for 11. I confirmed my property manager, $1,100 a month. I'll do a little bit of work on it, double the value with minimal work. And then I'll just be sitting around waiting for a good opportunity to do a cash out refi with a burr.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. How are you buying it? How are you paying for it?
So I'm using a home equity line of credit to pay cash for it. And
Nice.
then I'll just fund the repairs out of my own cash flow from my other rental properties because they won't be that expensive. So, and then I'll just be sitting there, and probably what I'll do is if it isn't a good opportunity to do a cash out refinance with a burr, I'll
Mhm.
just keep holding it until it is a good opportunity. So
Makes
I can
sense.
make interest only payments on the HELOC if I want, or for only 32,000, I could just aggressively pay it down as quickly as I need.
Is your HELOC, so after you pull that money, is that money interest only and fixed for a certain amount of time?
It's not fixed for a certain amount of time. It's interest only, but it's whatever the prime rate is plus one. That's what my rate is.
Okay.
So
So what is I didn't look at prime recently.
no, I mean
What's
it's like
prime?
475 plus one. So it's like 575 right now or something
That's
like that.
that's not bad at all. And it is
Yeah.
interest only, so it's no principal
Yeah.
pay down.
Right. So it's actually cheaper to do it that way than if I was doing principal and interest on a fixed rate. It's just
For
not a
sure.
great long-term solution because you're never paying the principal down until you convert it to fixed rate debt, which conveniently enough, I literally just filmed an entire video all about how to use a home equity line of credit, the pluses and the minuses. I haven't edited it yet, but I threw in our little conversation where you bullied me. You bullied me into making sure I don't lose access to a tool like a HELOC. And as angry as I was, you were right as usual. So I did it, but I was pissed.
I get it. And so let's talk about what you were pissed about. So basically, for those of you who don't know, home equity line of credit from a bank perspective, it looks to the bank balance sheet. They look almost identical. The reason I say almost identical is because we live in a fractionalized banking system, which means if I'm a bank and I get $100,000 worth of deposits, I can lend out $1,000,000, typically is what the number is. I can lend out about $1,000,000 on that $1,000,000 worth of deposits. Fractionalized banking. They only got a fraction of what they're actually going to lend out. Here's the power of that for the bank is obviously leverage, etc. However, from a buyer's side of things, from Mike's side of things, he gets a home equity line of credit approved on one of his homes. It's, let's say, $100,000. Or he could have gotten, let's say, $100,000 mortgage. Here's the difference. To the bank, they have to have that $100,000 on their books either way. The difference is that HELOC being on their books as $100,000 and not having any money drawn down on it actually makes them $0, but they have to account for that $100,000 like it was being lent out. So it's almost like having a non-performing loan where you've got to keep on your books that it looks like you lent out $100,000. It's basically available credit, but it looks like you put that $100,000 out there. The difference is that it's not performing. If they give you a mortgage on $100,000, literally after 45 days, even if they weren't the ones that held the actual loan and they sold it to Fannie and Freddie, they're still making the money for servicing the account. When that's a home equity line of credit, none of that happens. So when none of that happens, that puts you in a bad spot, because as soon as a bank gets in trouble, the fastest way that they can create capital, i.e. not extending credit, is if they shut down all of their home equity lines. And they will take ones that are $100,000 with no balance, and they'll send you a Dear John letter saying, hey, Mike, thanks so much for taking out the HELOC. We know you spent four to $600 taking out a HELOC, but due to adverse things happening in the housing market in today's banking world, blah, 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 we are shutting down that line of credit. And then literally hundreds of thousands of people get that letter. And that's what then gives them that much more in reserves or credit available. That's what changes on their balance sheet.
Yeah. So in order to protect themselves, you will lose access to a tool.
Correct.
And that's the interesting thing that I've learned since I got the home equity line of credit, is that it's, and this is the point I make in the video I made, but it's not out yet, is that there's a mental shift that happens when you start using something like a HELOC. You realize that money isn't real. It's just a tool. I have this tool. It's a $125,000 HELOC that I can use to buy, remodel, do a burst strategy, replenish the HELOC, do it again, replenish the HELOC. It's no different than when I worked in construction and we paid a monthly fee for a forklift. We rent the forklift out so we can use the forklift to do our job. We got to pay a monthly fee. The HELOC, the interest-only payment on the HELOC, is my monthly fee to use the tool that is that giant pile of money. And as much as it pisses me off to have to rent the forklift when I know I'm probably not going to use it for a month, if I don't rent it today, that forklift's going to be gone and I won't get it again for 4 or 5 years. And that will slow down my business.
Absolutely. 100%. And the key too is that making sure that when you're quote unquote getting money out of the property, because you refi the property, you do a mortgage, you get a cash out refi. The idea there is that you now still have your money out of your HELOC. You can always pay it back. The issue is that once likely you pay down a closed line of credit, you don't get access to that money again. So you basically keep it out of the HELOC. You keep it out of that ecosystem, if you will. You have it in an account. Now you're paying interest on that, but that's where you have to make sure that you're starting to get return on that capital. Now, this is not a strategy that I'm recommending for anybody. I'm just saying I wanted to clear up the details on it because this is something Mike had done. Some people really like this strategy and this is what they want to do. Other people say, you know what? I don't want to risk what I'm working on. It's good. I'm just going to go for slower growth. Slow and steady wins the race basically every time. You can speed things up by getting other people's money. So that obviously works.